Hello, my name is Corey Lee, and I have been asked to record a definition of spiritual formation. This is for a spiritual change and transformation class for my seminary work at Indiana Wesleyan. Uh, Much of my interaction with spiritual formation has been with the Renovare group, specifically um, Richard Foster in his work, and Dallas Willard specifically. Divine Conspiracy has worked on me heavily in my structuring of spiritual formation. And so, if you ask me to define spiritual formation, I would say spiritual formation is a person being formed as a child of God. And I think that specifically looks like being formed in the image of Jesus for a Christian. Now, I think Willard's pretty clear that you could have different spiritual interpretations of what it looks like to be formed, but I think as a Christian, I think the ultimate formation is that of Jesus himself. Like as Paul says, to live is Christ, and a person being formed is a person living, not a dead person. And so to be formed is to be like Christ. That means to look like Christ, to act like Christ, I think to fully become Christ. I think this happens through the movement of the Spirit of God, specifically. I think it is the desire of God to take all of his children and form them into the image of his incarnate Son. Now, I think that ultimately happens at death and the resurrection of the saints, the ones that God will resurrect at the end of time. I think will be fully resurrected and fully made like Jesus in his glory. But I think in the here and now, while we live, I think spiritual formation ends up taking the whole person, and I think that's very, very important. And Willard really pushes that direction too, for the whole person. But the whole person, by the power of the Spirit of God, is moved toward the whole person of God. But I think that is the work of the Spirit in us, is that we naturally become people who sing the name of God, who desire God's kingdom to become and for God's will to be done. That was my Greek professor in my undergrad. That was his favorite interpretation of the Lord's Prayer. Let your name be sung, let your kingdom come, and let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I think that's the fulfillment of spiritual formation.